All right, check it. Take 3. Law 4, law of polarity. And so I'm gonna try and get back in the same type of energy I just had on that last take, but regardless. So I actually got into a deep dive with this law because in regards to this law of polarity, hold on, right, there we go. It's likened to a pendulum that's swinging. So you want to think of it, one can think of it like it's swinging one side to abundance, one side to desolation. But I don't like to think of it like that, especially after watching this brother. And I ain't gonna start name dropping content creators for real, because I'm low right now. So until I build my stuff up off the strength, that's what I'm gonna do. But I was watching this brilliant brother, young brother, metaphysician, talking about how money is energy. I've known that, but it is. And it's good that he's putting that out to his followers so they know and understand that it is magnetized. But to go even a little bit farther than that, that's the whole purpose of the banks being called the bank. So think of it like you on the side on the river bank. That's what the banks are. So upon exit, like think of a highway, an exit of a highway, the bank is there to scoop up the energy transfer. Think of the water in the river as the money, the current is flowing. All right. So when you think of it like that, and this is why I think of the importance of polarity, because I'm gonna say it like this. We're gonna take it back to my video, law number 2, correspondence. And they said the angelic hierarchy is order, or like in the order. The demonic hierarchy, it's still a hierarchy. It's likened to no. Force, likened to force. What it said is order without force is stagnation. Force without order is chaos. So why I don't want to liken the law of polarity to abundance and desolation, and where I was I would say immaturely wanting to have this law and use it only for the pendulum to swing and keep it swinging in abundance. But I'm gonna show you how that's going, or I'm gonna explain to me how that lines up with stagnation. Also, now it just hit me, think of this law like if you into the stock markets, the bull and the bear. So the bull, when it swings up, your market's swinging up, and the bear swipes down. So that's when the market is on the decline, it goes down. It's always a pendulum. It's always an ebb and a flow. It's always a rise and a decline. But to play it like this, when you look at your money, you always want to invest some of your money. So your money's still not being stagnated. It still has a force behind it in order that it's moving, like it's not being stagnated. It's moving with both angelic and demonic. So it's in vibration of correspondence, expressing polarity. So while it's doing this, as above, so below, as within, so without, abundance, you're bringing the energy in, you're bringing the money in. If it's a season of opposition of abundance, we're going to say stimulus. Because now, instead of thinking desolation, where don't think of money going out, think of it where you're donating and you're stimulating the economy around, so somebody else can have that abundance and put that energy on the crown. And so it's give and take on that sideways, that invisible 8. You know what I mean? So this is an important law to me, so we're gonna get into it. And I say, can you please explain in great detail the universal law of polarity? Let me make sure it's still recording. The universal law of polarity, its practical application regarding one balancing and integrating the shadow and higher self with correspondence. Also regarding the law of polarity, can you explain how it correlates with the law of correspondence, especially as one intends to remain at a higher vibratory frequency for magnetization or manifestation? How does one play against the untimely, at times, law of polarity? So hold on. You know the deal. You're asking the real questions here. This is the heart of actual inner alchemy, not just pretty language. I'll break this into clear pieces. Hold on. What the law of polarity actually is, how it relates to shadow and higher self-integration, how it interlocks with the law of correspondence, how to stay at higher vibration without bypassing your shadow, how to play against, really work with the swings of polarity. The universal law of polarity: everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair opposites. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Hot and cold are both temperature, different degrees on one scale. Light and dark are both conditions of illumination. Love and hate are both relational emotional states. Fear and courage are both responses to perceived threat. The key hermetic insight: opposites are not separate things. They are the same thing at different vibratory rates. So polarity is not about two different realities fighting. It's about one continuum, expressing itself at extremes. Polarity, shadow, and higher self. Now bring this inside the psyche. Shadow and higher self as poles of one continuum. Shadow is the rejected, disowned, unconscious aspects of self. The higher is the integrated, wise, transpersonal aspect of self. They are not two separate beings. They are two poles of your one consciousness. Think of it like this. And I got an illustration that best shows this when I get done speaking. It may seem sacrilegious, but I got an illustration that shows this. And I think it's mighty. I'm gonna just say that. On one end, unconscious patterns, fear, shame, compulsion. On the other end, clarity, love, wisdom, and sovereignty. Same axis, different degree of awareness and vibration. What balancing and integrating actually means. To integrate shadow and higher self under the law of polarity is to recognize this thing I hate in myself is the same energy as my gift, just at a distorted degree. Transmute, raise the vibration of that energy along the same axis instead of trying to cut it off. Shadow, control, manipulation, rigidity. Higher expression of the same axis, leadership, structure, responsibility. You don't kill the controller, you refine it into the wise steward. I love that. That's fire. How polarity and correspondence interlock. As above, hold on, let me clean this lens for y'all, man. Give me 1 second, hold on. Let me clean y'all vision. We talking about clarity. As above, so below. As within, so without. Law of polarity. Everything is dual. Opposites are the same in nature, differing only in degree. Put together, whatever polarity you are running with, within, love or fear, trust or control, abundance or scarcity, will correspond to what you experience without. Your inner axis of polarity becomes the outer pattern of your life. So, if you unconsciously polarized into victim on the inside, you will correspondingly attract perpetrator, rescuer dynamics on the outside. If you consciously, that's huge. I'm going back. If you unconsciously polarize into victim on the inside, you will correspondingly attract perpetrator, rescuer dynamics on the outside. If you consciously move your vibration along the axis towards sovereignty, your outer world begins to mirror respect, opportunity, and aligned challenge. Polarity gives you the axis. Correspondence gives you the mirror. Staying at a higher vibratory frequency without bypassing, How do you remain at a higher vibratory frequency for magnetization without denying the law of polarity or suppressing the shadow? If you try to stay high vibe by suppressing anger, grief, fear, pretending you're above your triggers, spiritually bypassing your pain, you're not transcending polarity. You're getting trapped in it. You become secretly polarized into light is good, dark is bad, higher self is good, shadow is bad. That inner war lowers your actual vibration. We will have to explain. I think it would be good to ask how that would lower the vibration, even if your language sounds elevated. The real move, which is up for speculation and debate always, is AI. Transmutation, not suppression. I'm always for transmutation, though. To remain at a higher vibratory frequency. Yeah, we'll do that later. With polarity, you acknowledge the lower pole honestly. I feel jealousy. I feel rage. I feel small and afraid. Locate the axis. Jealousy to admiration and inspiration. Rage to boundaries and power. Fear to awareness and preparedness. See, this is where my mind kind of counter is counterintuitive or counter reacts to what AI is stating, because AI says, excuse me, man, I'm trying to look through this while looking through this. AI says to acknowledge when you feel that way and locate the axis. I understand that, but that's to me, losing an efficiency. That to me is a lack of efficiency and energy. Okay, so everybody is not gonna on the same degree feel jealousy, rage, small and afraid. Okay, and in all honesty, anger is really attributed to fear. So you're not feeling angry. If you really dive deep, you feel afraid. And so once you then start to deal with a lot of your insecurities, you won't have many acknowledgments of I'm angry. You will have dealt with that fear beforehand, and you will be in a state of awareness and preparedness. Perpetual, almost. I'm not going to say perpetual, because of course there's new levels, new devils. So we're going to keep going. I'm off my soapbox. I'm off of it. Consciously move along the scale. Jealousy. What does this show me about what I desire? Rage. What boundary is being violated that I must honor? Fear. What information is this giving me, and how can I respond with wisdom? You're not denying the lower pole. You're using it as a starting point to move toward the higher expression. How polarity and correspondence work in magnetization. When you intend to magnetize, manifest, attract, align with your dominant vibratory state, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, spirit, as we stated before, which ones move faster? I think that was in the previous lesson. That was vibration. So spirit moves the fastest, then thought, then speech, etc. It's the frequency. The universe responds via correspondence, matching that frequency and form. Polarity determines where on the axis you're vibrating. Example axis, abundance or scarcity. Scarcity pole, there's never enough. I'm always behind. I'm not worthy. Abundance pole, there is flow. I can create. I am capable and supported. You don't jump from one to the other by force. You slide. Scarcity to sometimes there is enough to I've had moments of support. Or like where scarcity to sometimes there is enough, where it would be like I'm not supported, to sometimes I've had moments of support, etc., etc. Each shift is a degree. I like that. Each shift is a degree change along the same axis. That's polarity in motion. As you move your inner state, correspondence ensures that outer reality begins to reflect a new degree, playing against the law of polarity or working with the swings. How does one play against the untimely at times law of polarity? I'd reframe it. You don't defeat polarity, you learn its rhythm. And that's what I was talking about in regards to like the markets and the flow of currency as energy, as money. Polarity often expresses as rhythm, high energy to low energy, clarity to confusion, expansion to contraction. The mistake is thinking, if I'm truly spiritual, I'll only feel expansion. If I'm really aligned, I'll never dip. In reality, the swing is natural. What changes with mastery is how far you swing, how long you stay at low pole, and how conscious you are during the swing. Now, remember I said I wanted to get to an illustration because that's huge right there. That's huge right there, but hold on. This illustration I wanted to get to, hold on, is it this one? We're going to come to this one. To me, it's perfect because we all know of Kundalini. They didn't make two snakes on the opposite sides as you see, Ida Pingala. They didn't make snakes on the left, right. But if you look at it, these snakes are in opposition. So like you got, I don't know which one is Ida, which one is Pingala, but you got one up, one down. And so you got both polarities. You got your person, your I am. And you got both hierarchies. And they're both but they're both ruling at a different vibratory rate. And you got us mid-plane, middle state. And you got, this is where we're supposed to be operating, y'all. This is where we're supposed to be sitting, mid-plane, middle state. Right here, the green heart, Mother Earth, Mother Gaia. I think that's huge right there. Peace.